Well, I've got bad news for knife collectors here in Canada. As if there weren't enough restrictions already, and now the Canada Border Services Agency has made a decision that is going to rule out a lot of knives, unfortunately. So, Customs Notice 18-01 came out recently, and the Canada Border Services Agency made a decision about centrifugal knives in particular. So far, they were just defined as knives that open automatically by gravity or centrifugal force. This prohibition seems to have originally targeted balisongs. If you don't know, balisongs are prohibited in a lot of countries, if not most, and this definition covers those. It also covers gravity knives, and the kind of knife that you just point at the ground and then the knife will just fall out and lock into place. This sort of thing. But now the problem is, the CBSA now says the knife is prohibited from import if it has a blade that opens by centrifugal force when released from the handle into fully ejected and locked position with a simple and brisk outwardly flick of the wrist, and includes knives that require some preliminary or simultaneous minimal manipulation of either flipper or other non-edged parts of the blade. And this is quite a problem. So far, flipper knives have been fine. If you've got on this here, for example, there's a very large flipper. So if you try to flick it like this, it won't open. So this is not considered a centrifugal knife, as far as the definition of the law is concerned, the formulation of the law. The CBSA doesn't make laws, but they enforce what they want to let through customs, essentially, what they allow in import. So yeah, this is not a centrifugal knife by that definition. But now, because they add this, if you use the flipper and flick it out that way, suddenly they don't want to let it into the country anymore. And I'm going to explain to you why this is ridiculous in a number of ways. So first off, this knife is actually a good example because technically, even with the stricter reinterpretation, this is still fine. This should still not be prohibited from import. Why? Because this. Watch my wrist. I'm not moving it at all. All I'm moving is my finger. That's it. I'm not flicking at all. So this is still not a centrifugal knife by that definition. However, here's the problem. CBSA agents could still look at this and say, well, it's a flipper. It falls under our prohibition. Or they could pick it up and go, here, see, this is a centrifugal knife. Even if you don't have to use the wrist to flick it open, you can. See how absurd this is? Also, this knife here, same thing. I can open it with just the finger, no flicking involved. Or I could also, point it down and then use the flipper. And again, there is no flicking action. There is no centrifugal action here at all. Okay, so what about this knife? It doesn't have a flipper at all. It just has a thumb stud. Okay, so you would open it like this, right? That's fine. Well, you can also do this. You can just push against the thumb stud, build up some pressure, and then open it this way. So you flick it out with your thumb, not with your wrist. No centrifugal action, blah, anything like that. It's just a more aggressive version of this. Instead of just slowly pushing it out, you just, you move your thumb a little faster. What about this now? So this shouldn't be prohibited from import. It would be ridiculous if it was, because that would get rid of, 70% of all folding knives, pretty much. So this should be fine, but this is the same kind of speed. So whatever they're trying to accomplish here, so on paper, they're probably trying to fight knife crime as it's about concealability and quick access. As if this makes any difference. It really doesn't. Even if I have to draw this and open it with two hands, this doesn't make much of a difference. Here is a demonstration. even if we assume that a regulation like this would actually be effective at preventing these knives from ending up in the hands of criminals, which, by the way, is very unrealistic because there are already hundreds of thousands of these in the country and they will remain here. But even if this was effective for somebody who is determined to attack somebody with a knife, it really doesn't make a difference how they open it. Yeah, there's also knives like this, for example. If I carried this tipped down, I could reach in my pocket, grab it like this, and do that. So I'm actually flicking the handle open rather than the blade. So this will never fall under any prohibition, but it can still be opened pretty quickly. And as I said, I can also flick this open. This is a little more difficult, but with practice you can very well do that. This is another example of why this is absurd. You know, if I can just about not get it this way, but if I then add a wrist flick, does this now fall under the... This just boggles my mind. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's way too broad, it's way too restrictive, and even though there are no studies or accurate statistics on this yet, I can pretty much guarantee you that this will do absolutely nothing other than inconvenience and restrict law-abiding citizens who want to own these things. And of course there are always gray areas as well, like the axis lock, for example. What does this fall under? So you cannot flick this out as it is. If you push down the lock here, then you can. But you're not actually manipulating anything on the blade. This is just a bar. The spring-loaded bar here is not, you know, part of the knife. So the way it's defined here, a flipper or other non-edged parts of the blade. Not the case. So I honestly don't know what this is classified as now. Can you still import these legally or not? If it has an axis lock or anything like that. It's not an auto knife. It doesn't fall under any other prohibited class. But with this, I don't know how they want to treat this. And this is the problem. They can pretty much treat it as whatever they want, whatever they feel like, because it's that vague. So if you want to be on the safe side, I would suggest not ordering knives with axis lock either. It sucks, but you know, just to be safe, to make sure that you don't lose money, because if they confiscate this, you get nothing. You don't get the knife, you don't get your money back, you get nothing, you're screwed. So that means a lot of knives now suddenly cannot be ordered from outside of Canada anymore, which really sucks. That limits the options that I have for knife reviews. Now, of course, there are still plenty of others with just thumb stud without flipper, or that require two-handed opening, things like that. But this is getting more and more like the UK, which is crazy. And Canada doesn't even have the problems that the UK does. I mean, the UK has rampant knife crime. Yes, they have problems with high youth crime rates. A lot of them carry knives and all this. And yeah, they've got a problem. And they try to fix it the same way. They try to put a Band-Aid on it. They're trying to signal, oh, we're doing something. So we just keep prohibiting these things. But the problem is that these violent youths, carry kitchen knives and whatever other stuff they can get their hands on. It doesn't matter what you ban. They will always carry things. And this whole thing about, oh no, flippers and quick opening and then whatever, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I can easily draw this, and this can arguably do more damage than a lot of folding knives, and it's readily available. Anyone can buy, or anyone over the age of 18 can buy a kitchen knife, and they're really not hard to conceal and carry on the person. This is a big part of gang violence, and the problem here is gangs and poverty, lack of education, and a variety of other things. Cultural issues, social culture in general. There are lots of problems that cause violence. Inanimate objects directly don't. I've said that many times, but yeah, it's not like this changes anything. I just mainly wanted to make this video to inform people that, you need to be aware of this now if you're in Canada. And, well, brace for incoming Canada bashing Trump cultists now. But that's fine. if they bully us so much that we get depressed, and, well, it's okay. We'll have free healthcare and poutine. So, yeah. Have a good one, folks. Thanks for watching.